Hi, you're now listening to the Shift Training Show. I'm your host, Flip.
I'm your co-host, Vaughn.
And our podcast is about exploring how can we improve the quality of human interaction. Today is actually going to be an abnormal episode. We're actually going to do a little bit of an idea or topic dump, kind of like when they do on social media, a little photo dump, haha, what we've been doing lately. So these are some notes actually out of my phone. I'm going to skip a lot of them. But we're just going to go through some of these and kind of drop some different things for the end of this month. And basically see what you may or may not be interested in, get Vaughn's 2 cents on some of these things, and just share these ideas and see where we're at. So if you're curious and exploring some fun stuff, here we go. So let's see. This first idea, impulse, instinct, intuition, differences, monkey mind, learned behavior, wisdom. Interesting. Let's play this game. Okay. So I think I was making some correlation between impulse and instinct, and that kind of being like monkey-minded versus like intuition being like something that's richer or deeper, that's harder for us to grasp, maybe even involving learned behavior. So maybe it's pattern recognition that we don't fully understand in some cases. Some people might say that might be divine intuition, so maybe a little bit different. And that might be like kind of like the source of like wisdom, right? Is taking knowledge or information and knowing what to do with it. And then the differences between those two. So I think or those 2, 3, 4 things, where some people might think their gut reaction, which is actually an impulse or an instinct, is the same as intuition. Mm-hmm. And I would debate that, but we're not here for that. I'm just saying like, these are my 2 cents on what I think is different.
Okay.
What do you think about that?
All right, so let's start with the impulse. I think the impulse is coming from a place of like what you feel at the moment. Sometimes could be good, sometimes could be bad, right? And I think your ability to differentiate that, that's why we talk about emotions earlier, being very specific with your emotions. Sometimes you just gotta take a pause and reflect and make a decision. You don't just make a decision right now, because sometimes we regret those impulse decisions. And I remember the analogy that I use from this is think of impulse as like the money in your bank account, right? If you spend money at the mall, let's say, and the next day you feel stressed, you feel like, what the hell happened, because you spent all the money because of impulse. So I think that's a great way to think about it. And in terms of intuition or your instinct, I think intuition, we could start with that. That comes from your values. I think in knowing your values, you're aligned with the things that you believe, your beliefs. I think that's a great way to, make a decision. But if your beliefs and values are not good, then you're gonna have a bad intuition. I think that's why you have to practice them. It is a skill. It is something that you practice.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think intuition is cultivated. I think intuition has some people say like a spiritual component of that. So like there's some other elements where we are able to maybe perceive or acknowledge, or if there's pattern recognition, something going on there that we can't fully grasp, is the whole idea behind intuition. But I do think that it can be refined like anything else, like any other skill, any other thing that we leverage. If you train yourself to be highly impulsive, you're going to be impulsive. The way you train yourself to become impulsive is just give into and go with every impulse or sensation that you feel. And if you feel it more strongly, it means it's more true. So act like it. It makes you an impulsive person.
So what do you think is the difference between instinct and intuition? What's
instinct? I think instinct is ingrained in us over time. Like my natural instinct, this is an easy one. I'm going to go there. Just beware. I'm going to go there. There's jokes online about Black culture where it's like, when we see a person running, we don't ask no questions. We just start running too.
I never heard of that.
That's a trained into the culture instinctual thing. Like I personally myself, I'm willing to be a little bit curious, and I also am willing to like figure out what's up as quick as possible. But
It is kind of like similar to when they see Asians, they're really good at math.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's an assumption.
All right.
So there's nothing to intuit about that or to instinctually feel.
When you're in the group, okay, I think he can solve that. He's Asian.
Yeah. So here's a better one. If the person is giving you cues, like you guys are having conversations in the group, and in the group they seem like one of the most put together, articulate, they seem to be proficient with things person in the group, your instinct might be, we should let this person take care of those things because
Right.
I don't want to take care of them. I'm pretty sure they can take care of them. And in their head, they might be actually thinking, I'm putting on a good show. They think I'm good at this. I really don't want to do it either. So we don't really know, but our personal instinct is still related to our perception and our experience about something.
I think of it like for animals too. They have certain instinct that
100%.
they react to, right? Sometimes when they feel in danger, they bite right away.
Oh yeah, or I'm about to run the squirrel over. Stop in the middle of the road. No, squirrel, please don't stop. Please keep moving. Anyway, so that's one of the random ideas in there that I wrote down many. But yeah, if you want to hear us talk more about nuance between impulse, instinct, intuition, you want to hear us go deeper into that, we'd be glad to go into that. Let's see. Ooh, here's one. I think this is good for people who struggle with imposter syndrome. So 3 ideas everyone struggling with imposter syndrome needs to know. So the first thing that I wrote down here was you don't have to know it all. The second one is you can learn and adapt. And 3, the old or current version of you is not the same as the version you are becoming. The entire process of what you're going through, where maybe you're transitioning to a new job or new position, something where you're feeling that imposter syndrome, that is the process. It's part of the process of becoming. It's never solid for too long. It's like a popsicle or ice cream in the sun. It's gonna eventually pass. It'll just go, but you will remain. I think being aware of that and not acting as if, well, I feel this imposter syndrome. There's something wrong. I have to do something different. No, you don't. Just keep showing up. You don't do anything different. Keep showing up. Keep doing what you're supposed to be doing because this is the process of becoming. It's like if you enter the forge and you're being worked on and you go, man, it's hot. I got to get up out of here. You can't get what you said you want, or I don't belong in here. It's too uncomfortable. Then you're not going to get where you say you want to go. So I think those are 3 important things for people to know in regards to imposter syndrome.
Yeah, I think this is I don't know if this is related to self-esteem. The reason why I thought about that is the way I understand self-esteem is like you holding yourself in high regards no matter, where you are. Like let's say, for example, I'm going to attend a new dance class that I've never taken before. It's a new style. I have experience, but it's completely new. I would feel that imposter syndrome, but like if I see myself, I'm a beginner, this is something new to me and I don't put myself down in a way that's like, oh, I don't belong here. It's part of the process. And I think part of that overcoming imposter syndrome is just building evidence, building experience. You just keep showing up, just like you said. And from there, as you keep getting better, then the imposter syndrome will slowly dissipate.
Absolutely. And I think you hit something important when you talked about self-esteem. I think self-esteem really influences how you show up in cases where you feel that imposter syndrome. I think it changes how you respond. So for example, if you, let's say, have a lack of self-esteem and you're in a situation where you are uncomfortable in the pursuit of something, in the pursuit of becoming something, you feel like, yeah, I don't belong. And then the following statement, but I really want this and I believe I could get there, maybe related to higher levels of self-esteem, where it's like, they're going to find out and I need to escape or hide myself before they find out. Low self-esteem, not believing that you might be able to actually rise to the occasion or meet the bar. And maybe you do have evidence or case against it or for it, but also realize you are currently in opportunity right now. You're in the midst of an opportunity to build said self-esteem.
Yeah, I think of that as well. What helped me is there are definitely some certain areas in your life that you're really good at. Like for example, maybe I was really good at video games back then and I spent so much time, right? And, I have a lot of ego there because I feel confident and you can apply the same, kind of like attitude. Obviously you don't want to be a jerk, right? You just apply that same mindset that, as long as you put in the time, the effort, the energy, you will eventually get better. And that imposter syndrome, again, will slowly dissipate.
Absolutely. If you guys want to hear us talk more about imposter syndrome or self-esteem, let us know in the comments. We'll be glad to go over that as well. Let's move on. What else we got here? Ooh, interesting. I'm going to touch base on this one sentence idea, which is take a break from the situation or from pain. Don't be so obsessed with it. I think we're going to talk about this. I think this is contextually relevant right now.
Wow.
Yeah. When you're experiencing a hardship or something's difficult, you might need to take a brief break from the situation or from the pain. Don't be obsessed or so focused on it. I think sometimes you and I were just talking about this off camera, which is like, if the pain has so much of your attention, like you can't think, you can't do anything else, you can't make any change. There will be no remedy if you give every bit of your attention and focus to the pain. If you look at it, you're staring at it, you're experiencing it, like there's no part of you reaching for the bandage or the means of being able to breathe again. You're gonna stay kind of almost like in a loop that leads you to stay constantly dysregulated so you can't move.
Yeah, I think that this goes down back to what we talk about in regards of nervous system. If your nervous system stay in a state of fear, lack, scarcity, then it's hard to activate your creativity and how to solve or manage your situation.
Yeah, so I think sometimes taking a break from that pain, that experience, whatever's going on, just a breather. You need to use the breather. So some people like to take a vacation to just go loop and then go back to the same thing with no changed behavior. And then they go, man, I need another vacation. Oh, and you run in the loop. Vacations are dope, but I really think if you don't leverage them, you're missing out on the opportunity. Like if you go take a walk and you don't, after the walk, start to pivot the way the rest of your day is going, you take the walk, you have a little bit of relief, and then you just go right back in and go, man, yeah, right back to the pain. This is going to suck. The rest of the day is going to suck. Whoa. What were you doing on that walk?
You have to regulate.
Use that walk to help turn your day around. You can't just be like, oh, I just took a little break so I could breathe a little bit. And now that I can breathe a little bit, I'm just going to go right back into it and just be like, yeah, it's going to be terrible. Why? Don't do that.
Is that the same thing with like the vacation? People take a vacation just to get out of from the stress that they're having from work or relationship, whatever it is, right? However, when they come back, they still feel the same. And like what you said, is that because maybe they didn't really properly use that vacation to, reset?
I think so. I think I have a particular theory. I know there's different types of travelers. There's travelers that have agendas, and there's travelers that just like to go and have no agenda. You can guess which team I'm on. It's very obvious.
The one has no agenda.
Obviously not. I think that there is good to have a part of the agenda where there is no agenda. So even so, there's still a agenda.
Yeah. Before you continue your thought, I think about this on, I think having a structure and being intentional and, that intention creates that structure, what we talked about before, and that freedom creates, or that spontaneity and that freedom will happen inside the structure.
Yeah.
And that's what I've learned. Like if you don't have any intention or that structure, man, it's very chaotic. And looking at in hindsight before, when I went back to the Philippines, I didn't really have a plan. I just had no idea. And looking back, I was like, man, I wish I could have had more, plan or structure so that way I can be more present, intentional with my friends and family and be more connected.
Exactly. So that's why I'm a planner. 100%. I believe in that 1000% because I've seen it. An easy analogy for this is if you have a house and you like where you live, you like your home, just imagine that there's no structure for your home. We just take all the walls down. Would you still want to just do whatever you want inside your house? Would you still feel comfortable? Would you still feel safe enough to do whatever you want in your house if there was no walls? Let's say I took down 2 of your 4 walls of your home. Obviously, most people are going to say, no, that's weird. So I like structure when I travel. And I do think that the purpose of travel is exploration. I think all things that yield exploration, awe, things that expand our mind, they give us an opportunity to soak up something new. So when I go places, I like to experience the culture. I like to be present, and I like to see what new ideas or things I can integrate from this experience into my life. So when I come back from vacation, part of it is with me forever. And every time I travel, I come back better, not just revitalized, refreshed, but truly refreshed in mind and spirit and body, capable of executing new ideas and therefore changing my life. I do think that is how it's supposed to go, but it's your money, do what you want on your vacation. That's how I like to use mine.
Right. I think that's an excellent analogy.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, sometimes you got to take a break from the pain or situation so you can have clarity, and also don't be so locked in on it. That was the idea. Is like when you just dwell on your pain all the time, that's all you get. So yeah, if you'd like to hear us talk more about why you shouldn't stay focused on your pain for all eternity, we'd be glad to talk about that. I think I have one here about 3 signs you're struggling with boundaries,
Oh,
but I did not put the 3 signs, but that would be fun to talk about. Let's make up 3 right now. Let's go off top of the head. What are 3 signs someone might be struggling with boundaries? What do you think, Vaughn?
good question. The one that comes to my head is that they were programmed, like what we talked about before. When they try to speak up, there is a certain circumstance or consequence or punishment when they speak up. Maybe when they grow up, or a teacher, don't question my opinion or what I learned. Then, when you grow up, that's when you struggle. Your nervous system is in that state when someone says something, you don't question it, even though sometimes your value is you're violating your values. Maybe your value is about truth. If you're not seeking for truth, then you will feel that in your body. That's one.
Okay, so as a sign, what does that look like in one sentence?
Not speaking up.
Sure. All right. So not speaking up is one of them. Not speaking up, or not standing for your values. Not being willing to stand by whatever it is you think is important.
Yeah, you're having a hard time to have that hard conversation with others.
All right, cool. I would say another one is, so that's one. Another sign is people who struggle to say no.
That's a good one.
And even better, what's a sign of that are people who end up resentful for saying yes.
Right. Guilty of that.
Yeah. Saying yes and then being like, oh, I didn't even want to say yes. And then, oh, I'm so mad about it. That's an easy one. If someone's going to be resentful, they struggle with boundaries.
Yeah, I think people pleasing is another violation of boundaries. Or struggling with boundaries.
100% clear sign. They're going to be resentful later. Cool. Yeah, I think that's three signs. I'm trying to think if there's one other that's not directly related. I think those are easy wins. Those are ones you can see. Somebody who, when you have a pattern of not saying things, keeping ideas to yourself, even when it might be a positive or a good thing that you want to share. I think that's also struggling with boundaries, because it's maybe not knowing where that line is between offering a genuinely positive idea or a compliment and where your sense of safety yourself is. Feeling like you can't just do a good thing because you want to. But that might go back to the whole align with your values thing. So,
right.
Cool. If you want to hear us talk more about boundaries, don't worry, we probably will. But if you'd like us to focus on it in a recent upcoming episode, let us know in the comments. Ooh, relationship 4 C's. That's a long one. I would love to do that another time. Vaughn had one about being primal and dominating a room. Maybe another time. Here's an idea. Don't touch things while they're receiving a lot of energy. Wait until they are receiving no energy or very little. Think of it as like a landmine or a bomb, smaller, easier to deal with than, something that's got a whole lot of energy charged up. I think this is regards to like having conversations with people when you just had when tensions are high and it's a heated situation. You might want to wait till some of that energy dissipates to come back and have a conversation. Something that's more manageable. I think that goes into, if it's got a lot of energy in it and it's hard for people to regulate, you're going to have probably an unfruitful conversation. It might be better to wait.
Yeah, nothing comes good from very heightened emotions, right? If you're very angry, you might say things that you will regret later.
Absolutely. I think we got a couple more we'll go through and then we'll be donezo. Let's do this one. I like this one, which is stop doubting yourself. Stop doubting yourself because others doubt you or have spoken negatively about you. I think it's important to be careful not to take on the words of everybody. Try this. I can't allow how you feel about me to change my intention or desire to pull out the best that I can in life. I can't allow how you feel about me to change my intention or my desire to pull out the best I can in life. I think that happens a lot to a lot of people. I think obviously when we're young, we have less agency over that. We are easily imprinted upon. But I think sometimes in relationships, or you go through certain hardships with people that you really trust or you feel close to, maybe you give their word more weight than it deserves. Like if it's worth 2 silver, you give it 5 gold. It's not worth that much. And if the 5 gold is enough to buy your psyche, to buy your sense of self, don't give them that much, because you can't allow that to happen. An easy example for this is if someone has a negative opinion about you or their experience with you has been extremely terrible, like not a good fit, not a good match, everything, whatever. You want to listen for areas where there's truth, but you also cannot begin to reshape your entire life predicated upon that, unless what they're saying has a truth in there that would help you move towards your goals. Like it has to make sense. It has to fit for what you're going for. But you can't just do it because they said it, so it must be true. I'm a terrible person. You can't do that.
Yeah, I agree. I think you want to be aware of that loop, because I think most people are going through that. And once you start doubting yourself, and especially if you doubt your own self, I can only imagine if somebody start adding more into that, right? So you get into that rabbit hole. So I think it's very important to be aware of those.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, man, that's like stewing over things somebody said to you a year ago, 2 years ago, 5 years ago, 6 years ago, 7 years ago. It's still in your spirit. It's still speaking to you. You gave that too much weight, too much value. Like it's influencing. It's literally sculpting in your mind,
right?
How you see yourself.
Yeah, you're giving out your power. You're losing your agency once you start, letting that doubt from others get into you.
100%. Let's see, collaboration, connection, communication, synergy, unity. What is required for great collaboration? We'll probably come back to that another day. A growth mindset identification exercise. Ooh, we could do that another time. Ooh, this is interesting. I'm going to talk about this one because we talk a lot about personal development and holistic health on here. But I'm going to drop this one and I want to see if it hits for anybody. Sometimes we block the answers to our prayers, our blessings, by being unwilling to change, by not doing the work and putting in the effort that goes with those prayers. So it's the same thing with asking, but not being willing to till the soil, not being willing to go harvest the seeds that are necessary to get what you want, not being willing to go out there and water your plants or take care of them or protect them from the cold because it's uncomfortable, not being willing to give up a small portion of yourself in order to get what you ask for. I think that this is something, I don't even know how to put this into words. I feel like it's such a basic principle, yet ignored in various areas of our lives, that stops us from getting closer to the things that we want. And when I look at people who are very successful, and I have everyone has their own definition of success, but for myself, part of success includes being able to materialize or manifest the things that you aim for. And to do so with a certain level of not accidental, but like, yeah, it kind of happens. It goes like that. There is this principle seems to be very clear to those people. And it's obvious that they understand, if I want something, I must be willing to give something. And I can't just ask and do nothing. I must ask and do all the things that are required.
Yeah.
I need to do both.
Both.
Without ceasing. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like, especially if you have a purpose or a goal that you have in mind and you just talk about it without putting any action, that's just a fantasy. Until you put in the work, you actually strive to win, then it becomes a reality.
Facts. Absolutely. Let's see. So if you want to hear us talk more about, being aligned with the things you ask for and manifestation and things like that, how does it really work? Love to talk about that stuff. Next, we've got, this is kind of related. That one's kind of long. We're going to skip that one. Let's go right into this one. Too often, and this is related to the last one, too often we may avoid the consequences of our own choices and actions, and then later talk about how some type of change needs to happen. So, okay, the consequence that was supposed to come, of our own choice and action. We try to avoid it, duck it, dodge it. And then be like, yeah, some change needed to happen. It needed to go different. No, yeah, it needed to go different. And the irony is, the catalyst for change is found in the consequences that are being avoided. I want to say that again. The catalyst for the change that maybe we are about to complain about or ask for is found from the consequences of the choices that we make. So we can't avoid them. We need to learn to embrace the discomfort. We need to prepare to mourn things, knowing how things may be now, might be a particular way. We have to mourn that. We have to be willing to let it die, let it go, mourn it, pass through that grief, and do what must be done to manifest the exact change that we keep saying needs to happen.
Yeah, I think there's the same thing if you think about working out. When you start working out, you're a beginner, then it's going to be very difficult. There are certain things that you have to sacrifice, and there might be a lot of resistance because working out sometimes could, be very, very hard for some people. But if you keep working out, it's hard, but the consequence of you working out, you'll grow some muscle, build some strength.
Yeah, that'll get you. That's the catalyst right there. I think an easy one for me is I think people can see this one really easily, where it's if you say you want to, man, my health needs to be better. I don't have time to cook. All right. I don't have time to make the food that I need. I don't have time to go to the grocery store. Then you don't have time for your health to be better.
Right.
You don't have time for your health to be better. But if you do, if you start to take, an hour a day or whatever it is to cook or to get groceries when you need to, if you start doing those little things, you will get the consequences of those choices, which is negative consequence, bad health. Good consequence, you get the change that you're looking for, which is improved health. So it's for anything. I wish I had more time with my family. You have to give up something else in your schedule that's not your family in order to have more time with your family.
Yeah, this is the same thing with money too. Some people, they actually have the money to, buy the program that they needed.
They can do stuff.
Right. But however, they don't have that framework of this is actually costing you the money because you are in a or in an elevated risk of heart attack. You're obese. You are, you're in the verge of things are not going to go well. So I think people need to understand that there are certain things that we have to sacrifice, and that money is not going to be in our funeral, right?
Yeah. And if we talk about this in regards to human interaction, we talk about this in relationships. This is an easy one, but it's a hard one. It's simple, not easy, I guess. That's how they say that. I want to have a better relationship with my friends, or I want to have a better relationship with my partner or anything like that, right? That means you have to subordinate your ego. You can't feel like you're the top all the time, like you're the top one, you're the best. It's all about you. You got to subordinate that, or else your relationships are going to suffer. If you're not willing to support that, you're not willing to bring others up or invest in them, you're not ready to have quality relationships. I'm going to just keep it a buck.
Yeah.
You're not ready. You might need to keep doing it because you need to practice the idea of what that means to actually connect with people. But if you can't subordinate your ego, you can't have real connection with people, period.
Right. And I think this is related to being criticized or getting a feedback from somebody. You're going to feel those feeling of defensiveness, and that's because your ego has been flared up. However, as we talk about emotional resilience and talking about emotions, it's not about not being unbothered by the ego. It's about, acknowledging that ego, but you're responding in a different way. So that way you can get better.
I think our last item that we're going to do is, I'll do this one really quick, and then I want to go to our closing one,
all right,
which is a couple of values and beliefs that have helped me are, I found that my decision to not honor or willingly support anything that stops progress, especially my progress towards my goals, to be very helpful. Basically, that means you cannot co-sign or support or say it's okay or this is how I am or any of that. You cannot do that if it is stopping you from making progress towards your goals. I found it very beneficial to just not even try to do that. I don't got to support it. I can let it go. I'm also very willing to disrespect, resist, fight anything that doesn't support my goals. And this includes temporary emotions or feelings if they are harmful or destructive. So for example, I have this thing I like to say where I know that some people worship their feelings. And I don't believe in that. And the reason why I don't believe in that is because I have seen that be destructive in many people's lives. And I've seen many friendships and relationships be destroyed for that. And for me, it is easier for me to be, not easier, I'm not gonna say easier. I have found it to be more valuable to be willing to not give that voice in my head. Like for example, if we talk about when we're doing tricking is kicks flips into us, by the way. And sometimes even when you're skilled, sometimes you got to get your mind right before you execute a thing that might be scary, especially if you haven't done it in a while. There's a voice in there, the Bruno voice. We're gonna use the Bruno voice because we're not trying to get censored right now.
You're gonna introduce them. What's a Bruno voice first?
Yeah, the Bruno voice. If you've never watched the movie Luca, you should watch that. It's a great animated movie. Kids movie, fantastic. So it's the voice that tells you, no, you can't, you shouldn't do that, or I'm scared, or this or that, or whatever. It's one thing to assess why you're afraid of something. It's another thing if what you desire calls you so much, it's on the other side of that wall. And if the protection mechanism is flaring up and stopping you from climbing over the wall, but every other second when that voice is not flaring up, you are thinking about, I wish I could do this thing. Punch Bruno right in the mouth. Be willing to fight, disrespect, tell Bruno, sit down, take a seat. I love you, thank you, but not right now. Your time is later. You can talk to me later, not right now.
Yeah, I think what we talk about in the last podcast, which we talk about emotional agility and granularity, those feelings, sometimes we don't need to follow whatever the feelings that we are feeling and just observe it. What's the right direction here and move on from that.
Absolutely. Because this is something to really understand. If feelings are related to your nervous system, let's say you're having a sensatory experience, you're sensing something. How you interpret what you're sensing is a whole nother thing. Now, if you wish to train a new response, that means that you can't take what you're sensing and automatically say, I will do my default response. For example, if I'm practicing punching, something like whatever, and I say I need to change my technique, and I keep going, well, this feels good to me, I'm not going to improve my technique. I have to change the technique accordingly. So even though I feel like this is uncomfortable in the beginning, I still need to make this adjustment till eventually it becomes the norm that I want. So this is where you're actually learning to train yourself, train your body to have a different response. Mm-hmm. Some people are so against that, but I go, if you're not willing to do that, you're not going to be able to guide yourself or help yourself to move towards the things that you want in life. You're not going to be able to make those choices that could get you the type of connection you're seeking with other people. And I don't mean that manipulative way. I mean that like, if you can't manage how you feel when you're interacting with another person and they're feeling a particular way too, you're both in an elevated state. It could take one breadcrumb, bloop, just because you felt that way, and whereas if you could just do a little bit of water, everything could be better, and you guys grow from the experience. These are so nuanced. They're tiny little things, but they matter so much. And that's why I said for me, it has served me to not honor or support anything that isn't helping me. Like I just cannot give it life. I don't want to give it life. It's literally against what I'm aiming for. Mm-hmm. So I found that to be very valuable, helpful for me.
Yeah, I think that's very important. I think timing is very, very crucial there as well. If you got them in the feeling of state of like super angry, then you say something, it will just not be very good. That's why it's very important to just pause, take a break, 10 minutes or a day, whenever you're fully regulated, then come back, then there will be a better decision that will come up from it.
Absolutely. All right, guys. So last idea that we want to wrap with, this is going to be the last thing. We've been going for a minute, but accountability and credibility. And this is a note I put. You can't be credible without accountability.
Repeat that.
Yeah, I'm going to drop it one more time. In regards to accountability and credibility, some people want to be credible. They want you to put respect on their name. But you can't be credible without accountability. So if you're running from accountability, you don't want anyone to say, hey, you said you were gonna, but you didn't do this. Hey man, what's up with that? If you don't want no one to say that to you, they can't put respect on your name. You get no credit. If you think about it like this, you have a credit card, someone has to keep an account of what's going on with that credit card, or your credit score can't get better. If you're doing bad stuff with that, someone's still gonna tell you, you're still gonna find out, and your credit score is gonna go down. So you cannot have credit or good credit without accountability. They just don't exist. Like, I would never know someone's reputation is good if no one was giving me an account of what that person's been doing.
Yeah, that makes sense.
They go together. So anyone who tries to avoid accountability but wants credibility, I do not understand how you think that it works. They go hand in hand. So if you want your credit to be up, you want to be a more credible person, you want to build more credit with yourself, you better make sure your accounts look good.
Right.
Your account of how you show up, your account of how you treat people. You got to get your stuff to look good. Get it in order and you will be a credible person.
Yeah, I think it's the same thing with discipline. You know, when you say you're disciplined, are you doing the things that you're supposed to be doing when it's not even favorable to you, you know?
And when no one's looking.
Exactly. Same thing with loyalty. People say, oh, I'm loyal. Okay, have you been tested?
That's right.
Yeah.
You need to be tested. That's the facts. You cannot say I have done. The test is the accountability. It's an account. It says, hey, let me see what you got over there. Oh, it's good over here. It's good over here. Well, let me see. No, don't look.
Exactly.
That means it's not good, bro. All right, cool. Well, that's it. Thank you guys for going on with us on this trip to explore some of these ideas or things that we dumped. There's a lot more, but if any of these topics are of interest to you and like us to explore them more, leave a comment or you can email us and we'd be glad to do a full episode on any one of these topics and just go deep in there.
Sweet.
All right. Any closing thoughts for them?
Appreciate y'all for taking this moment and you have a blessed day.
All right. Take care.